welcome to New Life AG podcast. As you all know, we are in the midst of the Excel series. We've been having special guests among us who have excelled in the areas that God has placed them in. And today we have Kishore with us. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here. Kishore is the managing director of EnergyTech Global and with loads of experience, and I'm looking forward to spending this next few minutes with you. Your story is amazing. You started off as a lecturer and then moved on to be an IT professional, and now you're the managing director. So give us a little bit a glimpse into your story and also tell us how that switch happened.
Suraj, it's such an honor. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share my story. I was born in a rural village in coastal Andhra Pradesh for a family of farming background. And the life was very difficult for my parents in 1970s, 1980s. They had to work very hard to make both ends meet and to sponsor the education of myself and my brother. And during school days, I had to deal with self-doubt, ridicule, right? And I could not express my feelings properly. I lacked self-confidence. Neither my school teachers nor my classmates thought I would amount to anything. But somewhere inside my belly, I always had that fire to make things bigger and better and make a difference in the lives of the people in my, network. I in fact studied in government schools. All my education was in government primary schools. And I learned English alphabets when I was doing my 5th standard. In villages, you'll have single teacher taking care of 7, 8 different sections. When I actually did my bachelor's in electronics, and after doing my bachelor's in electronics, I appeared for university examination. I got an admission in University College, Nagarjuna University, and then I did my first master's in physics, and I secured the gold medal in the university.
Wow.
And then I went ahead and I appeared for GATE examinations, and then I got again admission in University College, SV University, Tirupati, to do my MTech in energy systems. And again, to God be the glory, I again secured gold medal in my MTech as well. But you might wonder, I've studied electronics, studied physics, studied energy systems, which is an interdisciplinary of electronic and electronics. And now here I am doing, software programming and running an IT company. So what actually happened was, while I was doing my bachelor's degree at that time, Ministry of Human Resource and Development, in order to promote the computer science in rural India, they used to give stipend for meritorious students to go and do diploma in computer applications. So while I was doing my bachelor's degree, I did my diploma in computer applications.
Okay.
While I was doing my first master's in physics, I was only doing it because university will give you free food, accommodation, hostel. You can be there. You don't need to be a burden to your parents, and then you can pursue your passion. So I did my postgraduate diploma in computer applications, and then when I went to Tirupati to do my MTech project work to earn some money, I started working as a Java instructor in one of the computer institute there, and then I went to Bangalore to do my MTech project work, and then I continued to do the same thing, and it was year 2001. And you might have heard about Y2K boom. Y2K boom was over, and there are not many new openings in IT industry, and there are a lot of recession as well. And I tried for 3 months, 6 months, I could not get a job. And having done 2 master's degrees, I no longer wanted to be a burden to my parents. So I thought to myself, if all that I'm doing is, teaching Java in some computer institute, why don't I try and, be a lecturer in engineering college who can afford to pay AICT scale to me? And that's how my journey has started as a lecturer. And then I worked for 1 year in Bangalore Engineering College. I got married to Prashant, who happens to be from Sainikpuri in Hyderabad. Then I decided that, okay, let me come to Hyderabad. If I'm doing teaching here, I might as well do the same thing here. When I came here, I joined in Sri Chaitanya educational institutions because they can afford to pay huge amount, and maybe they thought maybe this good chap has got 2 master's degrees, got gold medals, so you can deliver it. But what they don't know is I never taught physics. I'm not capable of teaching, people who are aspiring to get admission in IIT or, clear medical entrance tests. So it was a real challenge for me. I got the job very easily, but now I have to deliver it.
True.
And I worked very hard, and, whatever I take in my life, I give my 200%. 3 years, I used to work very hard throughout. I used to teach 9 hours a day, every day. Wow. And then night time, I had to burn my midnight oil to prepare for the next day.
Wow.
And then, meanwhile, my wife, she got a job in IT industry. And then my passion was always to, move towards IT industry. And I look at my wife and the kind of work that she does. And then here I am stuck, and I don't have time to go and appear for, because it's a 6-day week. And I used to start praying God, God. And at the same time, my vocal cords started giving some problems. So I realized that probably it's time for me to switch. I started fasting and praying, God, help me to, this is what I wanted to do all my life. And I'm stuck here, and now I have a family. I cannot leave this job, so help me to get a job. And then I prayed for a month, 2 months, and then I started adding one more thing to my prayer. I started telling God, why don't you, get me a job, and then I will follow in waters of baptism. And you give me a job, I'll follow you. I'll trust you to the rest of my life. And then I started praying like that for another 2 more months. Then somewhere, and I got compelled in my mind. I felt like Holy Spirit started telling me, why don't you flip the order? Why don't you follow the Christ waters of baptism and then see what He can do with your life? Maybe if you pull out the church archives of 2004, you would see me holding a mic, standing in the middle of the baptism tub, while Pastor Stubbs and Pastor Wilson giving me the baptism. I think they both have given baptism to me. And then I was telling, I'm trusting God with my life, and now I'm following Him in the waters of baptism, and let me see what He can do with my life. And now, you see, then immediately within 3 months, God has opened an opportunity in the company where my wife is working, because they were looking for someone who can teach, who can also do a software programming, who can go and teach to their clients across the world and also do software programming. And that's how the doors have opened for me miraculously. And this company, Suraj, I worked there for 10 years. You might have heard about Intergraph in Begumpet. It's now called Hexagon. And I worked there for 10 years. I started as a software developer, became lead programmer, project lead, manager technical. And then by the time I left that company in 2015, I was working as senior manager technical. I was responsible for the strategic planning and delivery of certain projects, geospatial projects there. And this company has given me opportunity to go around the globe. It sent me to different parts of the world to work and grow, to serve their customer base. They gave me opportunity to go and live in Canada, live in Singapore, Germany, New Zealand, Australia, more than a year in UK. So I was always positioning myself with smarter people than me. I was always in the company of smart people than me. And then it opened up a lot of doors for me. Then I was always in learning mode. Okay, what can I learn from Suraj? Now I'm working with Suraj, and he's damn good at so-and-so thing. And then I made it as my daily routine. And to cut the long story short, 2015, during this period, during the last 2 years of the tenure, I worked with a gentleman by name Dr. Julian Cardos. He was deputed to India to build a team and to serve 40 plus offices that Intergraph has got across the globe. I was one of the 3 direct reportees to him. And then I worked with him for 2 years. He left the company because he started something with his high school friends in New Zealand. He wanted to build a electricity retailing company in New Zealand. So he went back. Then one fine day morning, I got a call from him. He said, I'm coming to Hyderabad. In mid 2014, he said, I'm coming to Hyderabad. I want to meet you. He invited me to a dinner in Taj Krishna. At the most, I was thinking that probably I know he's up to something. He will ask me and my wife to relocate to New Zealand and work for him. I never knew that he's got grand plans, which would put me in fix. Me and my wife prayed. Basically, he's asking me to join forces with him to set up an IT company here in Hyderabad, help him to build the software so that he can expand his business in different parts of the world. And we prayed for a month, and then finally, to cut the long story short, I said yes to him that day. And we decided my wife would stay back and give financial stability and security to my family while I move away and then experiment with my career. And I trusted God. And see, now 6.5 years down the line now we've got 2 offices here in Hyderabad, one in ECL, one in High-Tech City. 170 people are working with me. Now I represent a group which is valued at 125 million, which has got offices in Auckland, New Zealand, Brisbane and Newcastle in Australia, and we've got plans to go to other countries. And this is how I asked God to convert me from lecturer to an IT professional. Now see what God has done with my life, and all that I need to do is be loyal to Him and do not move away from the path that God has shown you.
That's a phenomenal story, and now you're also in HICIA. You're the managing committee member there, and this reach is not just a few people. We're talking about Pan, Hyderabad, and the reach is greater. And God places us in those places of influence for a purpose. Tell us a little bit about what ICEA does, maybe a short
Sure.
function about ICEA, and also how important it is that God placed you there.
Sure, Suraj. So HICIA stands for Hyderabad Software Enterprises Association. And if you look at the IT ecosystem of Hyderabad, 650,000 people are actually having direct employment in IT industry. I'm talking about 6.5 lakhs. Maybe 2 times more than that have got indirect employment. So HICIA is a 30 plus year old industry body. It represents more than 90% of Telangana IT and ITES industry, both in terms of headcount as well as revenue as well. And I can never imagine myself to be part of the managing committee member. You know, when you look at the past presidents or the managing committee members, heads of companies like TCS, Infosys, Tech Mahindra, Deloitte, State Street, and even now, whenever I walk into that room by being a managing director, I look at each one of them with awe, and I had lots to learn from them. At the same time, offer my perspective to ICEA. Basically, what ICEA does, Suraj. So ICEA acts like an ecosystem partner here, and it acts as a bridge between the industry and the government, helps the government to come up with industry-friendly policies, and it also fills the gap between the education sector, the academia, and the industry, so that the students can be ready to do the work. And it also engages itself into some CSR activities which would benefit the community, and also creates a platform for all the member companies to mutually get benefited from each other. So I never imagined to be there, and I never asked, look at what God has done, and then He gave this unique opportunity for me, which I never visualized for myself. And you would be surprised to know that maybe because I'm operating from the East Hyderabad, I got this unique opportunity, and I'm utilizing that opportunity not only to grow myself, to add value to myself, and to, I'm creating opportunities for a lot of other people through this initiative.
Wow.
Yeah.
And God has placed you there strategically, I believe, that you will be a blessing to many. The other place God has placed you in is in John Maxwell's team. Now, that's a very, very prized position. How did that happen? I mean, give us a little bit into that as well.
Yes, so that's a very interesting story. So as I told you about my journey, now I started this company 6.5 years back, being the only employee and the managing director of the company. I never told anyone that I'm the managing director of the company. Now probably I can say now I'm reaching 200 people mark. Yeah. So then when I started recruiting people, and obviously when you want to build a world-class organization and you are serving world-class customers, so you need to have very smarter people, you need to have smarter, intelligent people than you. And when I started doing it, I realized within a year that all the skills that I learned, during the prior 15 years in my career, they are not good enough to build a world-class team. My leadership skills were not good, my relationships skills were not good. Then I also realized that I'm kind of becoming a cap on my team's ability, my organization ability. As you know, and you will agree, you are running a business yourself. No organization would grow beyond the capability of the leader, right? Now, as a leader, if your effectiveness score is say 8, your organization or your teams would probably reach 7. They would never go to 9, right? So then I realized that it is important. I need to now improve my leadership skills, and I started looking for ways and means. And if something is important to you, you would find out the way. Solution, and if it is not important, you will find an excuse. Otherwise, you'll find the solution. You're right. True. And I also believe when the student is ready, the teacher would appear.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, one day I came to the church. We were in Millennium Gardens, and the church is selling the Global Leadership Summit DVDs. And I went and I purchased the DVD, and I saw Andy Stanley, Craig Rochelle, Bishop Jakes, John Maxwell, Melinda Gates. Then while driving back home to, I just put the CD in my car and DVD in my car, and then John Maxwell popped up on the screen, and I started telling, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less.
Okay.
Everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership is nothing to do with titles or positions.
All right.
Leadership is all about adding value to yourself, adding value to others. He blew my mind in a simple words, and it's teaching me what is leadership. And what attracted me towards him? He said, because in my subconscious mind, up until that point, I was thinking that leadership is a talent, not a skill. Then he told me that day, it's not a talent, it's a learnable skill. You can learn, you can practice, you can master it, right? And he changed my world. Then I immediately I purchased some books, 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and then Developing Leader Within You 2.0. I read these 3 books, and I started experimenting with all the people. And when I started experimenting with my teams, I saw, God, this works. This stuff really works. And then I took him as my mentor. And I self-declared myself that he is my mentor. Okay. And then I started following his podcast, his videos. He started reading his books. And then one final day I thought, when this is making such a difference in my life, let me go to Florida and be with him for some time, get mentored by him, get trained by him, and get certified. That is how I became John Maxwell team member. Okay. Generally, when you look at John Maxwell team, it's a Maxwell certified team of coaches, speakers, and trainers who are actually accelerating the growth of individuals and organizations. But in my case, it was only, I don't want to be a speaker, I don't want to be a trainer or coach. It is to build my organization, to help people, to add value to people. And that's the story behind John Maxwell team, brother.
Yeah, we can see that you've learned a lot from John Maxwell and from your personal life and experience as well. And you put some of it in a book. And I love the title of your book. It's called Don't Coast. Can you give us a little about the book, a gist of what is inside that book?
Yeah, sure, Suraj. I wish I could have brought the book. Yeah, so what I did was whatever I've learned within 20 years of my corporate experience, from my own life, and I told you that I was uniquely placed to work with a lot of global groups, global teams. So whatever I learned from others, and I shared my insights in that book. So that book is simply about how one can accelerate their personal and professional growth. Wow. And what I was trying to tell in that book is growth doesn't just happen. Yeah. And you can't simply improve by coasting, right? And that's what I was trying to tell. I actually, the problem with the current world is that people will have uphill aspirations, they'll have downhill habits, right? And they will lack that intentionality, they will lack that consistency, but they still will have those aspirations. And having uphill aspirations would not help you when you're having downhill habits. Yeah. So I was trying to tell them that you either now pay now and play later, or you play now, pay later. Oh. No matter what, life would expect you to pay. Yeah. The question is whether you would pay in the front end or you would pay in the back end.
Very interesting.
And the longer you wait to make that payment, the more you have to pay. And that's what I was trying to tell them. Once people think that once they come out of the colleges and they are done with their education, no, that's where the real education starts. No one would teach you how to do your personal development. You need to take charge of it. Yeah. So in that book, I explained 4 P's for personal growth, 4 P's for professional growth.
Wow. I'm going to get a grab of that book. Now, as I told you at the beginning, and we told everybody, this is the Excel series.
Right.
And we are talking about people who've excelled wherever God has placed them. And you have excelled for sure. Your story says it. If there is a young aspirant who wants to excel, wherever they are at, what would your advice to them be?
So I can think of, 2 suggestions looking back at my own life and how, God has helped me to transform where I am today. I can give 2 suggestions. One is never underestimate the compounding effect of consistency. And the second one is you should be far more worried about your current trajectory than your current results. Let me decode that for you a little bit. Yeah. So if you have a tree in your backyard, and I have a tree in my backyard, it could be the tree would differ from person to person. It could be overweight, it could be bad food habits, it could be binge watching television, addiction to smoking, drinking, pornography, it could be anything, procrastination, jealousy. Take an axe every day morning, get up from your bed, go and swing the axe 5 times, cut the tree, put it down, go back to your routine. Then next day morning, get up from your bed, take the axe, come to your backyard, swing it 5 times. Only 5 times, not 15 times, not 50 times, just 5 times. If you are swinging it 5 times a day, every day, the tree is definitely going to fall down. There's no question about that. If it is a big tree, it might take a couple of years. Longer. If it is a small tree, a couple of months. But the tree is definitely going to fall down. So this is what, this is where, this is what I've experienced in my life. If you're consistently doing something on a daily basis, the problem is, we overestimate what we can do in one day, underestimate what we can do in several days.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And we think it's all about what happens in a day, but not daily. Wow. Right? You cannot change yourself until you change something that you do daily. Correct. So now the point that I'm trying to highlight is you need to be consistent. You need to be consistent and intentional, and you need to keep doing certain things, if you want to really improve yourself. For example, like, you might be in a particular profession and I don't know what that craft is, but you really need to know one pace for average. You have to be excellent in whatever you do. So maybe daily 15 minutes, 30 minutes. The power comes from doing it daily, 30 minutes, 15 minutes. If you start doing it, and imagine if you start praying 10 minutes, 15 minutes every day, how much difference it would bring in your life. Whether it is reading a book or writing a book or whatever it is, but do it consistently. And that's why I say never underestimate the compounding effect of consistency. And then I also read somewhere that if you become 1% better every day, 1.01 percentage to the power of 365 is 37.38. And if you become 1% worse every day, 0.99 to the power of 365 is 0.00% basically.
Okay.
Right? So now look at the power. That's why, what we do is when we start something, we immediately look for results. No, you should not look for results. You should consistently keep doing it. And that's why I say the second point, you should be far more worried about your current trajectory than your current results. So these are the two things that helped me in my life, Suraj.
Wow. We've learned so much from you, and I know you're going to bring another book out in the coming days. So looking forward to that book. And I believe that God is going to take you to places of influence, and we would love to have you come back and talk to us about leadership. We can talk about so many things, but today we are short of time and we are done with today's podcast. Thank you for sharing all that you have shared. I believe that this podcast has been a blessing to you. If it has blessed you and if you loved what you've seen, please share it. And please subscribe to this. If you're on YouTube, you can like it, you can share it. Hope this has been a blessing. And thank you so much for logging in today. God bless.